506, Dan Mandis in for Vince Coglianese on WMAL, News Talk 105.9. Happy Friday to you. It's going to be a rough weekend in my house. I just walked up. I'm down in the basement. I'm broadcasting from my house in my basement. And I go upstairs, and the wife and child are both laying on the couch, sick as anything. It's going to be a great weekend in my house. So after I get off the air, I'm going to head over to the drugstore, get some NyQuil, and hopefully put them both down to sleep. And I don't know if there's something going around or not, but the two of them, they just got home, and they're just sick as anything. They can't even get off the couch. So hope your weekend goes better than mine is apparently going to be. But I've got a very specific question for you. Do you, and it's very simple, I hate to play talk radio with this, but I'm interested in how you feel. Do you or do you not agree with Donald Trump with his announcement earlier today that he will not be participating in the Republicans' debate? He just doesn't feel like he needs to. And there seems to be a lot of division, both sides of the Republican, aisle, depending on, how Republican you are, how conservative you are. Some people say that he absolutely should be participating in the debate. Other people say no. He's proven. Donald Trump, a lot of folks will say he has proven that he can handle the job. And most certainly, I think that we know that he can do a good job. Although, some folks have said to me during my show here in Nashville, Tennessee, where I host a morning show on WTN 99.7. It's a talk station, and I host the morning show. They say that he's got an obligation to participate in the debate because he has not debated the likes of Vivek Ramaswamy or Ron DeSantis or some of these other folks, Tim Scott. So he does owe it to the Republican Party. I don't believe that's true. Just to let you know where I stand, I think that he has proven himself, and he has such an enormous lead. I would call it ginormous. He's got a huge lead in the primary, so there's really no need for him to do it. There's, as some would say, there's no percentage in him participating. Instead, though, what he is going to do, and by the way, I don't care how often Chris Christie calls Donald Trump a chicken. Nice try, but I don't think Donald Trump is scared of Chris Christie. But you know what I would say? I would say that he, in doing the Tucker Carlson interview, which is what he is going to do on that night. He's doing a classic Donald Trump move. What he's going to do is he's going to counter-program the Republican debate, and I would expect nothing less from Donald Trump. As a matter of fact, I called this, I predicted this several weeks ago. And when Vivek Ramaswamy, he did a big interview with Tucker Carlson. I think that aired, I think it was last night that aired. I've got some audio from that, by the way. It's a very good audio. It's a very good interview. So we'll have to see how Tucker sort of navigates Donald Trump. It is my hope, by the way, and I'm a big Tucker fan. It is my hope that Tucker is able to get something new out of Donald Trump and really ask him, some incredibly relevant and pertinent questions, regarding everything that's going on, not just about the investigations. There's a lot of things that I think that Donald Trump can talk about that have nothing to do with the investigations that are swirling around him. I think that most people who are Donald Trump supporters would say, and just so you know where I stand, I'm a free agent. So I like Vivek Ramaswamy. I'm a big fan of Donald Trump. Ron DeSantis, his star is beginning to fade a bit, as you know. But, for me, I think that everyone who is a supporter of Donald Trump understands that the situation, certainly there in Atlanta, as we've been covering for you all week here on WMAL, it's a very thin case. So there's a lot of things that the former president can talk about, including his plans for another 4 years. But I do want to know, what do you think about the former president not participating? 888-630-9625. Let's say hello to Dustin in Winchester on WMAL. Line 2. Hey, Dustin.
Hi, I agree with President Trump not doing the debate. I believe he'll have a better platform on Tucker's show with regard to the Fulton County indictments and all the other political attacks. I think the congresswoman that was just on, what was her name, Lesko? You can hear it in her voice. I mean, she's holding back tears. I think that a majority of Republicans feel the same way, and that Donald Trump is the candidate that's going to bring us back from the collision course at the crossroads of our nation that the left is leading us to.
You know, hey Dustin, hey Dustin, you sounded like a really smart guy. So can I ask you a question? I just saw this headline from The Hill. Pro DeSantis super PAC ad is slamming Donald Trump as too weak to debate. Chris Christie is going to say the same thing. Do you think that's a smart move on the side of this DeSantis group?
I like Ron DeSantis. I don't think it's a smart group, and I think it's one of the reasons why he should avoid the debates, because all it's going to be is an attack. They're just going to attack each other. We all know the characters at play. To try and one-up each other with what's going on in the country right now, there's no reason for Republicans to try and one-up each other. Just state what you believe in, what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, and leave it at that. We don't need this infighting. This is what the Democrats, the Democrats all do step in together. So this is what the Democrats will capitalize on, any kind of attack. And you're absolutely right about Chris Christie. He's obsolete. He's off the radar. Nobody really cares. And if anybody should know after the whole Bridgegate scandal, he should understand that the left is out to lynch Donald Trump and all Republicans, and they need to realize that. I do this better than them, or just state the facts. See if you can get a little more closer to Donald Trump and go from there.
Dustin, thank you very much for the call. I appreciate it. And Dina is here in D.C., line 3 on WMAL. Dina, what do you say?
Hello?
Hi, go ahead, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Christina.
Christina.
As a Trumper, 100%, minority woman, I am 1,000%, 1,000,000,000% for Trump. He's the only one who can do the job. He basically is the one who's going to give life to that debate. So he can do whatever he wants. He proved already that he cares about the American people. He is for the country. He is for the American value. He has nothing to debate with Chris Christie. In case Chris Christie wants to do something, I'm going to be brutally honest. Mr. Christie, go and take a diet. Okay?
Thank you, Christina.
You already have put a lot of poison in our country, and we're going to be with Donald Trump 100%.
Thank you, Christina. I very much appreciate it. It's the second that Chris Christie was announcing that he was running for president, it is so obvious that the only reason why he is in the race is to be the attack dog on Donald Trump. Everybody knows that. Even Chris Christie knows that. So there's a certain amount of disingenuousness in Chris Christie's run for president. I mean, dude's at 1%, something like that. And so he doesn't stand a chance. He knows that he doesn't stand a chance. And everyone knows that the only reason he is there is to attack former President Donald Trump. It is the phone number is 888-630-WMAL. And want to go to, as I'm taking calls on what you think about Donald Trump announcing that he is not going to participate in the debate. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Sam is in Alexandria, line 1 on WMAL.
Hey, I appreciate you taking my call, and I think it's a mistake, and I've heard the previous two callers. And the reason I think it's a mistake is because there's a certain air of inevitability in his thought process that I think is wrong. And I say that because he needs to. I know why he's dodging the first one, but he can't do that continually, because if he doesn't think, nor his supporters, I voted for him twice, so I'm a supporter. But if people don't think that he can stand up and stand on the debate stage against the Democrats without having first answered the tough questions on the debate stage with Republicans, Houston, we got a problem. Because we the people, Republicans, independents, and some Democrats deserve to hear all candidates standing on a stage and saying what they will do to fix the problems, and not stand there and say, well, you know what I've done in the past, I'm going to do the same thing. Sorry, that's not good enough. And I use as an example, not to filibuster, my mother was just here for her 88th birthday. The woman has almost voted Dem her whole life. I asked her, hey, have you heard of this new guy, Vivek Ramaswamy? She says, no. I've heard the name, but I have not heard anything about his positions. And I said, here, listen to a little bit of this. So she listened to, I think, his when he was on the one of the shows.
Yeah.
And she said, I like that guy. Let me know when the Republican debate is going to be, because I want to listen. That should say it all right there.
You know what?
I want to listen.
And to your point, Vivek Ramaswamy, and I'm going to tell you, folks, I really like him. I've interviewed him, and I've been watching him, and I think that he has a lot to offer. You know what I would like to see? I would like to see a debate with DeSantis, Ramaswamy, and Donald Trump. I would like to see those three. I don't need Chris Christie up there bloviating and going on and attacking Donald Trump. I think Tim Scott also is somebody who I really like. But I would like a sifting so that we can get some of these candidates that are just, these candidates that are simply there to attack Donald Trump. I don't need that. I get enough of that from the DOJ and the Democrats. Go ahead. You can have the last word.
I agree, and I totally believe what's going to happen with Trump passing on this first debate is you're going to have 2, maybe 3 people cream rising to the top. That's Vivek, that's DeSantis, and maybe one other throw-in, but that's how it's going to work out. And a wise old sage told me that being a never Trumper is almost has as much use as being a only Trumper at the end of the day, as to what we need to do. We, collectively, conservatives, what we need to do in this election, and that is win.
Sam, you are absolutely right there, and I appreciate the call. I got a lot of people that I got to get into, but a great call, and thank you for your passion. Audrey is in West Virginia on WMAL, line 6. Hey, Audrey, go ahead.
Hi there.
Hey there, go ahead.
I think he definitely should debate. I voted for him twice. I'm 83 years old. I'm not older people, obviously, as long as they have their wits about them like he does and like I do. But I think he needs to debate. People want to see how he's going to go up, how he's going to answer to people like Vivek, who's a genius. And as far as Christie goes, he has no credibility as far as I'm concerned. When the beaches were closed in Jersey, he was out there with his family, which was disgusting.
Chris Christie. Thank you, Audrey. I appreciate it. Chris Christie is certainly not one to take the moral high ground. Chuck is on line 2 on WMAL. Hey, Chuck, go ahead.
Hi. Thank you for the time. So I think that President Trump should participate in the debate, but only under the condition that he ensure the Republican Party has an enforcement mechanism, so that those who have violated the oath will pay a penalty. So Governor Christie should pay a penalty for having already violated the oath from the last election and violating, at least already starting to consider or talking about violating any future pledge. And I say this having not voted for President Trump in the primary, but in the election both times. Thanks.
Thank you, Chuck. I appreciate it. I know the phone calls are going crazy. Annie, though, is going to be the last call on this. Annie, go ahead, line 4. You're on WMAL.
Hi, I just want to say I'm a huge Trump supporter, and at this point, he can sort of do no wrong because he did all right while he was in office. And this debate is basically going to be a competition for the vice president slot.
Yep.
And so I'll be interested to hear them all. And I do agree with the previous caller that Vivek is a genius, and I think he has fantastic ideas. And if the two of them could get together, that would be such a win-win. I would love to DeSantis at first, but he's been such a negative voice with Trump that it's been a turnoff lately. And he's doing great in Florida, so he can stay there, and someday maybe I'll retire there.
Let me ask you, Annie, and I fully expect Donald Trump to be there, but if for whatever reason Trump does not ultimately end up, running in the general, whatever happens, would Vivek get your vote?
Most likely, yes, because I think he has the best ideas, and I'm not sure, we sort of don't know him well enough yet to really get a sense of what his background is. I mean, I was very impressed with Obama when I first heard him speak, but oh my gosh, what a demon, So he's destroyed this country, and he still continues to do so behind the scenes as the puppeteer behind Biden. So,
well, and Andy, I'll say this, and I do appreciate your call, and I appreciate everybody's call. I have calls. I've as far as Vivek goes. She brings up a great point, and it's a point that a lot of people have made with me, which is because I really do like Vivek, and a lot of folks will say, well, I really like what he has to say, but I really don't know him all that well. Well, those same people will say that they like Vivek because he's an outsider. Well, okay, so let's go through the candidates that we do know really well. We really do know Mike Pence. We really do know Chris Christie. We know a lot of these folks that are running. We know Tim Scott really well. I like Tim Scott. But in other words, it's like Vivek can't win for losing with some folks, because you will have some people say, I love it because he's an outsider. Other people will say, well, I don't know him all that well. Other people will say, and I've heard this many times now, some people will say, well, I like what he says, but I don't trust him. And it's just, you know what? This is a guy who is probably going to, if he doesn't end up winning the presidency, which who knows what will happen, who knows if he'll end up being a VP, I don't know. But for him, he's got a lot at stake. He's a businessman. And so, he's already got a lot of people, going after him, just like they went after Donald Trump. The thing that I like about Vivek is he is putting it all on the line. But he has the ability. He is so incredibly smart and so incredibly articulate that he can very easily defend his positions. And he's not going to rattle easily. And that's what I like about Vivek Ramaswamy. And I also do like the fact that he, like Donald Trump, he is an outsider, or at least was an outsider. Donald Trump, I don't know if I'd still call him an outsider, but both still have a lot to offer. It's 529 on WMAL. Dan Mandis for Vince Coglianese. Coming up next, must-hear audio from that interview, Tucker Carlson and Vivek Ramaswamy. Stay close. It's WMAL. 536, Dan Mandis here on WMAL and for Vince Coglianese. Hope you have a great weekend, and there's so many headlines out there. I'm having a hard time keeping up, to be honest with you. Now, Donald Trump canceled his major news conference that he said he was going to present irrefutable evidence exonerating him after the fourth indictment on the Georgia election fraud charges. The former president just apparently deciding that he didn't want to do it. So that is one of a number of Donald Trump-related headlines. I did find that interesting, though, as to why exactly it was that he decided to announced that he had this irrefutable evidence that would exonerate him, and why he decided to say, no, you know what, I'm going to keep my powder dry. Because he said there's going to be a major news conference. But here's what they say. Okay, this is what he did say earlier. He says, rather than releasing the report on the rigged and stolen Georgia 2020 presidential election on Monday, my lawyers would prefer putting this, I believe, irrefutable and overwhelming evidence of election fraud and irregularities in formal legal filings as we fight to dismiss this disgraceful indictment. The former president writing on Truth Social Thursday to announce the cancellation of the event, which is, I will say I understand why the president is doing that. It's disappointing because I myself was looking forward to seeing that. However, we'll wait for another day. Also, we were talking about Vivek Ramaswamy and where everyone was in the latest polling. The 2024 Real Clear Politics 2024 Republican presidential nomination, Fox News polling. Donald Trump is up by 37 points. Donald Trump at 53. Ron DeSantis at 16. But Ramaswamy is coming in at 11%, folks. Mike Pence is at 5%. Nikki Haley 4%. Tim Scott 3%. Chris Christie, I apologize for the fake news that I spread earlier. I said that Chris Christie was at 1%. I'm sorry. I apologize. He's at 3%. Asa Hutchinson is at 0%, and on it goes. And so, but it is clear that Donald Trump is still the far and away favorite. That was a Fox News poll. Trafalgar, Trump is at 55. DeSantis is at 17. Ramaswamy is at 4%. Haley at 4%. Scott at 4%. Chris Christie at 5%. Mike Pence at 5%. And on it goes. And so, there is no doubt about it. The lower, 5 or 6, they are sort of staggered, but far and away, Donald Trump is alive and well in the Republican presidential nomination. But you can't deny the appeal of Vivek Ramaswamy. He did a big interview with Tucker Carlson, and there's some audio out there that I think is really indicative of why people like Vivek Ramaswamy. I'm just going to play a couple of audio bites for you. This is the one that garnered the most attention from a news standpoint, where he was talking about how the swamp in Washington, D.C., and politicians on both sides of the aisle, they look at Donald Trump and they see a guy who has been very much telling them the truth. But what about the rest of the politicians on both sides of the aisle?
What's interesting is I think that there's a bipartisan consensus in this country right now that we, the people, we can't handle the truth. Yeah. It's like Jack Nicholson at the end of the movie, right? Yes. You can't handle the truth. You need me on that wall. My basic view in this campaign is no, we don't need you on that wall. And yes, we can handle the truth. Well,
I think that we can handle the truth. But, part of what I would say in response to that, the question is, why are the politicians lying? Are they lying because they feel like we are, delicate flowers that can't handle whatever it is that they don't want us to know? Or are they lying because they're trying to hide something and they know that not only that we can handle the truth, but that we would vote their butts out of office if we did know the truth? And I think that by and large, there's a lot of conservatives across America that do know the truth, that understand exactly what is going on in Washington, D.C. We are being lied to. The media is lying to us. There are many people within, Washington, D.C. and politics that also lie to us. And that goes right up to, the Oval Office right now with Joe Biden. I mean, not only, I would say to Vivek Ramaswamy, and I'm not critical of him, but not only can we handle the truth, but we know the truth. And so the reason why, easiest example is Joe Biden and cringe Jean-Pierre, where every single day for months on end, what did we hear? the border is closed, the border is secure, when we absolutely knew that that was a lie. And it's not that we couldn't handle the truth. It was that we knew the truth. We knew that we were getting lied to. And quite frankly, it pisses us off. How often did we hear? Well, the Border Patrol, they whip those poor Haitians. And they go after the Border Patrol. They take away their ability to ride horses on very rough terrain. Alejandro Mayorkas, his office and they were notified that those Border Patrol agents did not whip those Haitians. Yet, even to this day, there's some Democrats who swear up and down that that is true, that that is a true story. Now you got Joe Biden out there trying to, convince the American people that the economy is great and that Bidenomics is working. No, it's not working. He even lied to us about the Inflation Reduction Act, and everybody knew. There was economist after economist after economist that said that the Inflation Reduction Act will not reduce inflation. Yet day after day, what do we keep hearing? That whispering Joe, lying Biden saved the economy with the Inflation Reduction Act because he'll say that it reduced inflation. Well, it really didn't. He himself has even said in the past that it was the wrong name. And by and large, most economists say that the reason why inflation came down from where it was at 9.1% is because a lot of the COVID stimulus savings has now evaporated. So when Vivek says, and again, this is the headline, that, the politicians believe that, the American people can't handle the truth. Oh, we can, and we already know the truth. And that's why this next election is so incredibly important. Anyway, Vivek does bring up a couple of examples.
COVID-19, what was the origin? What did we know about the vaccines before we mandated them? What did we know about Hunter Biden's dealings before we systematically suppressed that story? What do we know about the truth of what happened on January 6th? What do we know about that Nashville shooter manifesto, the transgender individual who shot up a bunch of people in a Christian school? That's why I went to Nashville not that long ago, because Bill Lee, a Republican governor of Tennessee, now wants to pass a red flag law in Tennessee without releasing that manifesto. The whole point is the public can't handle the truth.
Well, here's what I would say to that. I'm in Nashville, and that special session does begin on Monday. And coming up, I'm going to tell you exactly what's going on regarding that special session, because, if the Democrats really want to save lives, then they will look at what the Republicans want to do here in the state of Tennessee with this special session, and they will emulate it. Because what the Republicans want to do is what we should be doing across the country to save lives. This is not a Tennessee story. This is a national story of how to save lives. And it has nothing to do with red flag laws. It has everything to do with fortifying schools. It has everything to do with mental illness. And it has everything to do with everything we can do to save the lives of children. But, the activists, they don't want to hear that. You know what's going on here in Nashville? Where it's the state capital, of course, of Tennessee. So you have all of these folks that are now coming into our state, and they're going to protest this special session that's going to happen beginning on Monday. Well, here's my question. If you have all of these activists that are coming in and they're going to disrupt everything, they're going to protest, they're going to, fight their way into the Capitol, it's just going to be a big old mess. Well, if you really want to save the lives of children, you will let the Republicans and everyone in the state legislature talk about the problems that we have with mental illness. They'll talk about the issues that we have fortifying schools. They'll talk about the fact that here in Tennessee, we have lawmakers that are against SROs, school resource officers, in schools because they don't want to militarize the elementary schools. I mean, the absurdity of that statement and that statement alone tells you all you need to know about the quite frankly, the stupidity of some of these Democrats as Republicans are trying to save lives. I've got some details next on News Talk 105.9 WMAL. News Talk 105.9 WMAL. Dan Mandis in for Vince Coglianese. Hope you have a great weekend. Talking about something that Vivek Ramaswamy said on Tucker Carlson's show. It's a great comment.
What do we know about that Nashville shooter manifester, the transgender individual who shot up a bunch of people in a Christian school? That's why I went to Nashville not that long ago, because Bill Lee, a Republican governor of Tennessee, now wants to pass a red flag law in Tennessee without releasing that manifesto. The whole point is the public can't handle the truth.
Well, I would say, as a guy who has been living in Nashville for about 10 years now, hosting talk shows and so forth, one of the things that I would say is he's absolutely right on many different fronts. Vivek Ramaswamy is. What's going on here in Nashville is really a national story, because for the state legislatures here in the state of Tennessee, what they're doing, the governor, Bill Lee, he has called for a special session. And now Monday, we do have all of the state lawmakers. They're going to be getting together in the nation's capital. And the governor has called for, although nobody wants to call it red flag laws, by and large, effectively, they are red flag laws. Now, I don't know if you know much about Tennessee, but it is dead red, man. I mean, we are Second Amendment supporting, gun-loving Americans, but we're also responsible gun owners. But the point is that the governor, in his infinite wisdom, decided to go ahead and call this special session. And there's a number of things that he is asking state lawmakers to discuss. Of course, knowing full well, and this is what frustrates me about this, knowing full well that the Republicans in both the state Senate and the state House, they have all, almost to a person, have said no, they will not support any kind of red flag law. Now, putting the discussion of red flag laws aside, if every single Republican has given the indication, and we have a supermajority here in Tennessee, Republicans do, if every Republican has said they will not pass this, then why did this supposedly Republican governor demand a special session? Why would he lead the Republicans, force the Republicans? And it is really expensive to do this. It is a waste of money. So what was the point in calling the Republicans back into a special session to talk about, basically red flag laws when the governor knew that it wouldn't gain any traction? Now, there's other really good things that the Republicans will be talking about in this special session, but the protesters and the activists and the media, local and national, they won't want to talk about the other things that Republicans are doing and have been doing to save the lives of children. There's all this controversy swirling around. You heard Vivek Ramaswamy there talking about his trip to Nashville, where he, right there in front of the state capitol, right there on the steps, he demanded the release of the manifesto. All of the things that the shooter, all of the things that she wrote, that she had journaled. We're talking about hard drives and all these other kinds of things that we have at our disposal right now to look into the mind of this, no other way to say it, murderer, this murderer. Because we need to understand what kind of psychotropic drugs she may have been on. Of course, transgender. That part of it too. So what kind of psychotropic drugs she may have been on. You can talk about what kind of warning signs were missed. You can talk about any number of things. But the point is that that's part of how we save lives. We're also going to be talking about fortifying schools and SROs in elementary schools, something many Democrats in the state, for whatever reason, they think is a bad idea because they don't want to militarize our elementary schools. The SROs and the cops are there to help kids, not hurt them. Thanks for listening. News Talk 105.9 FM, WMAL.